Good evening. Your time now is 5:52. I'm Jeannette Reyes.
And I'm Mona Kosarabdi, and this is Off the Record.
Not for real. This is Off the Record.
Have you had a moment where you thought someone was being rude or disrespectful and you cut them off and you look back and you're like, oh, maybe I moved too fast. Maybe this could have been easily cleared up?
It was a little more than that, but still the same takeaway. You and I were actually just talking about this yesterday. Mm-hmm. There is one friend, I think they lashed out on me and it had nothing to do with me. But it was like a series of kind of outbursts with me. And I think they were just going through a really, really tough season. And while the lashing out itself was a problem, I wish I would have had a little more grace. And looked at the bigger picture. And I think you can change the relationship accordingly, right? Like I think when you're in your 20s or just when you're young, you tend to, you don't look at the nuances. It's either black or white. Either we're gonna be really good friends or not at all. And I'm like, we probably could have just adjusted things a little bit if this is an ongoing issue, because I think the pros with her outweighed the cons. And I probably should have asked her, what do you need from me? Like, and just get right to it. Like, hey, is this, sometimes I'm like, you could actually ask, hey, are you lashing out? Like, is there something going on here? Like, it seems like, you know, there's been some challenges and I want to be able to support you. Is there something going on?
What stopped you from doing that?
Because the lashing out was so egregious.
She's like, ooh, yeah, there goes my cue.
Because I had brushed it off a couple of other times.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was just like, I can't keep on doing this. But I'm like, but what if you actually talked about it and talked about like, what's the underlying issue here? As opposed to always specifically talking about the lashing out. So anyway, I think I would do a better job of getting to the core of a problem, not just looking at the symptoms of it.
Got it. And being a little bit more understanding.
And being a little more understanding and realizing that not everybody has to be a best friend. Not everybody has to be super close and you're kicking it all the time. There is a variety of types of friendships that you can have.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because that was going to be my next point, which is be friends with people that you don't think you would be friends with, right? Like, I feel like in your 20s, whether we want to admit it or not, we like our friends to match our aesthetic, right? And you want someone who kind of dresses like you, maybe even hell looks like you, right? And I know that people have their own reasoning for that. For example, if you're like, oh, I only want friends who look like me because they understand what my journey is like. But I would say, go out of your way to be friends with people that you think that you wouldn't have things in common with. Because I promise you, they may have really, really good qualities and they may be a really good friend and you can find common ground.
Yeah.
And you should be friends with a diverse group of people because you can't have this echo chamber. And also you want to learn from your friends. And then, hell, later on in life, you don't know who is connected to who.
Right.
And it may be that friend that has another friend that can help you get your dream job, that can help you when you need a lawyer, who can help you when you need certain advice. And so that's where I say don't restrict yourself to just people who you're like, well, yeah, we look cute together.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And friends that challenge you, because sometimes when they live a totally different life, view things differently, they challenge your long-held beliefs and perspectives and habits, and they just force you to view things differently. I think it's easy to befriend someone who thinks exactly like you, right? And like you said, like it just affirms whatever it is you believe. But it's like, well, maybe it's not that way. Maybe you can look at things differently. So I agree with you. Going a little bit out of your comfort zone. Heck, on that note, I don't know if it was, let me see. It wasn't until my 20s, and I still could have done a better job, that I didn't initiate friendships, right? Like for some reason, it was like I was a little more timid to initiate a friendship with just a girl. Like, hey, I love your outfit, like this, that, and the other. And like, there have been times literally where I tell Robert, oh my gosh, she seems so cool. I want to be her friend. He's like, why don't you go up to her? Like, it doesn't have to be
Robert encouraging you. He's like, babe, go. Go make a friend.
And he's great at that. Like, he's got a huge friend group, and it just starts off like that. Like, hey, I like his vibe. Like, yo, like, do you play ball or this, that, and the other? And I wish I would have done a better job, even in my 20s, to initiate friendships and reach out to girls. And girls are fairly easy. Like you give them
Those
a
are so
compliment.
easy. In the bathroom, at
Walls
the
come
club.
down.
Yes. And you're just like, oh, we have
Yes.
so much in common.
And yeah, I wish I would have done more of that.
One of the big reasons why a lot of brown and black women have issues dating is because they also want another brown and black man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they limit their dating pool to, I want to date only black men, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And that can, lead to some issues. But what are your thoughts on that? Should you date outside of your race?
I think you should date everyone. And I think that the best man should win. And I think that when you open up yourself to everyone, I've run the numbers, you 7x your chance of finding love.
What about cultural nuances?
I think that there's so much technology and social media that more and more people have more exposure to what is available, right? And are able to inhabit a variety of different spaces. And so I understand that there are different lived experiences in different cultures. But I also know that those things, if you're in a relationship with someone that is open-minded and accepting and curious and gives you the space to share your lived experience and honors that, there's nothing that can stop you.
You know, you had mentioned over 90% of black women date within their race. And when you're
Yeah.
running through all the things we want, over 6 feet, I want them to be highly educated, I want them to have all of these things, the numbers get pretty grim as far as what your options are.
0.07%.
Is what you have left over once you take all those things into
When you have
account.
the black men that make over 6 figures, I think it's like 3 to 4%, something like that, versus 13% for other men.
So you're a big advocate, given that you're a numbers guy, that black women need to date outside of their race if they want a higher chance of finding love.
I think that they need to date everyone. I will tell you, 50% of my clients still end up with black men, healthy black men, right? And so, again, this is about making sure that the best person for you wins and that you match with that person.
I want to talk about preferences really quickly because you talked about the dating app statistics and how white women are preferred more. I think you said 33%.
Yeah.
More likely
have higher response rates and match rates and conversation rates.
Right. So just within that, like I want to talk about that because I feel like even within the black community, there's a lot of colorism, featureism, texturism, all the isms. Like, let's just go down the road. And so how do you date when there's so much just negativity coming your way and like men who say you're not my type or I have a preference or this, and just navigating all of that negativity?
Well, I think it's a great question. And that's why I say I want all black women, brown women to date everyone, because if you're hyper-focused on just black or brown men, what happens is you actually have that much more pronounced, right? The colorism, the texturism versus, white men that are into black or brown women, they love 4C hair. They don't care about it, right? Actually prefer it, right? So, and they prefer darker skin, right? And so that's why I say I think it's important to be able to have those experiences so that you understand that, like, there are people that are checking for me. And the more people that you have, the better.
Let's, for people who are on the dating scene right now, you say it's pretty much a game and you got to learn how to play it. What's the strategy? Like, what do I do? What do I not do? What are the best apps to be on? What time of the year? You say there's a month you should absolutely not be on these apps. So run through it. What are the tips?
Well, I'm going to give you what I can. But most of y'all
You
need to
gotta
go into my
say
program,
it.
honey. But you're my girl.
I'm trying to package this
Y'all my
course.
girls. Y'all my girls. So I'm going to do what I can, as my mother would say, for God in my country. Definitely don't be on the apps in December. Like, men that are quality men, they're not on apps. They're finishing up Q4, right? They're with family and friends. They're not on apps.
But it's the season of love and, like, it's Christmas. No, we're not feeling all that.
Those men, a lot of men that are married will go on apps during that time to get away from their families.
Okay, never mind.
No shade.
It's a different kind of love.
Just giving you the tea. January is what I call the Super Bowl of dating. So you want to pay for apps in January, the first 3 weeks. That's when you have 40 to 50% more people on the apps, new people that never really go on apps because they have this New Year's resolution of finding love. So that's, if you want to pay for apps, that's when I would pay for it.
And your radius, do you keep it within your city? Do you expand?
You expand, especially if you're in California, you got to have a very wide radius. If you're in Texas, you want to be changing your cities. If you're in Houston, you should be in Houston 1 week. You should be in Dallas another week. You should be in Austin another week.
Why is that?
Honey, Texas, Florida, Atlanta, California, they're the hardest places to date.
Really? California as a Black woman is atrocious.
California is racist.
The way I'm sorry. Okay.
People don't think that because it's Cali and it's cool and it's chill. I'm from Southern California.
Me too. Yeah.
So when I say this, I'm saying this as someone who loves California.
It's firsthand stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you firsthand. Black men don't date Black women.
Yeah.
And then everyone else is a little up in the air. Or they like, it's more fetishized. But that was the one thing. It took me moving out to the East Coast to even like recalibrate my
people
brain.
Are checking for me.
Exactly. And realize, oh, wait, there are Black men that like Black women. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bios, anything I should look out for?
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things. So let's start online and then we'll go offline. Online, you want to have at least one black and white picture. Those get about 104, 107% more likes. Everyone looks beautiful in black and white. So that's one thing that you definitely want. Smiling always with teeth, no sunglasses. I need to see more clothing than skin, right? I'm not a prude, but you will attract more of the wolves when you have a mini dress on. So that's just that. In terms of prompts, I always say, don't just answer the what, but answer the why, right? So for example, if the question is, what's your favorite love language? Don't just say acts of service, right? Say acts of service because, I am someone who really, I'm a hard worker and I value, work ethic or whatever it may be, just so that you have more of a stance and the reader gets to know who you are. The other thing that I would say, whether it's in prompts or on bios, is don't be afraid to ask a question to really prompt the reader to respond to your profile, because the objective of the profile is not to find your husband. The objective is to start conversation. So you want to make sure that you have that. I will also say, and I don't really talk about this in public, but I'll do it for my girls, make sure that you're indicating what sort of places you like to go for dates.
How do you do that?
By saying things like, I really, on the weekends, you'll find me checking out the newest Italian spot or going to a comedy club or what have you, because men will go back to your profile 7 or 8 times while they're talking to you and getting to know you. And so when it comes to, dating, they'll know exactly what to do.
How do you become irresistible?
I think it's important for women to be very self-centered and selfish. And I think that most women aren't socialized to do that. But I actually think that you become irresistible when you become irresistible to yourself, which is you just can't get enough of you.
Yeah.
And that will radiate and attract everyone.
The right man will love a woman who loves herself.
You have to love yourself to actually inspire him to love you even more than how he would want to naturally love you. That's how they decide.
Yeah. So tell me, in a marriage, what are typically the signs of, it's just a regular argument or signs of trouble? Even before you get married, what are the red flags? Are you able to spot them where it's I don't think this is going to work?
It's funny when people come in and they tell me their story, and I always ask, what led you to me? What's going on? And I think it becomes so much part of their conversation and just the fabric of their everyday life. They don't even realize sometimes that there were red flags. So if spouses, they don't know about the assets or where money is, or they're gone for long periods of time, or there are businesses popping up that they have really no idea what's going on. I think, or even friends that really aren't friends, but they're business partners, and so they sort of turn the other way. But I also will say that women's intuition is typically never wrong. I mean, even if you do suspect something but can't put your finger on it, 9 times out of 10, there is something going on, and you just have either conveniently not, looked the other way, or there's a reason why you're like, okay, I'm just gonna power through and keep it moving.
Speaking of, what do women go to you for? Like, what's typically their complaint or their reason for divorce versus men?
That's a good question. So I think for men, the biggest complaint is support. They don't feel supported anymore. They don't feel like their spouses are standing by their side. Obviously, it's the stereotypical adultery and things like that. But a lot is about that male ego and the emotion not feeling the support. Whereas women, really, a lot of it is adultery. A lot of it is feeling like they, need to have more control in their lives, and finances usually keep them in a marriage versus being able to walk away. But it really, it runs the gamut of a whole finances, communication's a big thing also with women. They don't feel like they're being heard, or they can't talk to their spouse. So those are sort of the things that I see.
Because that's what I was going to ask you and I think you were alluding to it when you said that some things may be going on or have been going on that the person finds out about. And I'm assuming you mean cheating, affairs, the whole nine. How often is that present in a marriage?
Lately, I feel like it's always present. It is either present before and they worked through it, or it's present now and it's either the reason they're getting a divorce or they've separated and one or both of them have decided to move on. Because typically, a divorce is not, on TV, it's you file and you serve papers and it's done. It can take years. I have gotten clients divorced that has taken me probably 2.5 years to go through the court system or to do negotiations and things like that. And so it is not a quick process. And it's just one of those things that it builds.
I want to go back to affairs. Typically, a lot of people will say one time and I'm done.
We out.
Is it truly the case? Like, are people truly, finding out they were cheated on, it took the one time and they're asking for divorce? Or by the time they get to you, it's been multiple affairs, or it was an affair with the one person that happened, that was long term?
I think it's the latter. I think the first one is what people, if you're not in that situation, I think you would say, oh, the first one, I'm done. I'm not taking any of this. But when you mix in finances, when you mix in kids, when you just think about the realities of living and providing for your family, for yourselves and careers, or you've moved across the country, the world for this person, and now all of a sudden, they've had an affair, but they're sorry, or they've, moved on and professed they'll never do it again. I think more people than not would give that person another chance.
So men will move on even if it's just, or will keep with the marriage after an affair, more so than they tend to say.
You know what? The answer is yes. And it's really interesting because I have had clients, and obviously I can't get into all the details about specific clients, but I have had clients whose spouses have wanted to have third parties in their marriage. And so, and one party, will go along with it for a period of time, and the other, and then it becomes too much. But I think for men too, they will look the other way, especially, some of my clients don't work. They are trust fund babies, if you will, or their spouses are trust fund babies. And it's a lot to give up in terms of, walking away. And I don't want to say just because somebody cheated, but in this day and age, it's also one of those things you go to court. It doesn't shock the conscience of the court anymore. It's not something 50 years ago. Yes, adultery, it would have blown the socks off of a judge. But now it's kind of commonplace, which is sad, but it really is.
Once you said 2.5 years to go through a divorce, I was like, you know what? Maybe one is just one time. It has you questioning because it's a long process.
It can be.
But I do want to know, you mentioned trust fund babies and the financial aspects of this. People make divorce seem like it could be a financial come up. Like you marry someone with financial means and then you're in there for a few years and then you could divorce them and really make some good money, take 50% of what they have. How often do you see those situations where divorce can actually mean a financial come up for you?
Oh, yeah. In certain situations, absolutely means that you can get a financial come up, to use your words, in terms of, because especially when you have kids. I mean, I have had clients who, they have gotten a divorce or they've separated from their spouse, and child support is a big thing. I mean, some people's what do you call it in terms of, I'm losing the word, disposable income is more than some people's salaries, monthly salaries. And so you're using that to sort of, child support can be in upwards of 15, 20, 60, when you're talking about celebrities too, $80,000 a month. And so even if you're not married to that person, if you're just a regular Jane or John, and now all of a sudden you've had a child, you're getting $80,000 a month or even $15,000 a month to raise this child. I mean, that could, for a lot of people, make all the difference in terms of their own trajectory.
Are you seeing the dynamics change where women, as we become, more of us go to college and get, higher earning careers? Are you finding the dynamic is changing where the woman is paying alimony or spousal support?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this day and age, we are doing fantastic things in this world, right? We're making a lot of money, a lot of self-employed entrepreneurial spirits and women doing wonderful things, doctors, lawyers. And yes, and husbands now are staying home sometimes more often than they wouldn't before. And absolutely, women are now having to think about, they come in and I'm like, I've got to pay alimony. I do think sometimes it still shocks women a little bit to think that they've got to pay their husband's alimony, but it absolutely still happens.
I said to myself from the very beginning, I'm going to keep my private life, especially something as sacred as my marriage and my relationship, private. I'm going to keep this private because I love my husband and my husband loves me. And in the very beginning, when I would show my relationship bits and pieces of it, my husband is handsome. Nope. I'll tell you that. Noted. Where's my camera? It's right here. Yeah. I love my husband. I climb him like a jungle gym. That's all you need to know. When I would show bits and pieces of a relationship, a lot of those posts would really blow up. This is in the very beginning. But also the more they blew up, the more commentary we got on people just making stories up about literally making stories up about my relationship or who makes more money or how he must feel or what he's like, or people. I'm really protective of my family and my husband. I didn't like people that made comments. I don't just mean comments about even, how he dressed or whatever, what he looks like, which is, again, my husband's very handsome. I love my husband. I'm just saying there's always a troll out there. Oh, yeah. I can take it. I can take people trolling my appearance. My friends and family never asked for that.
Yeah.
They didn't sign up for this. They're sort of these innocent bystanders. This isn't a passing of judgment. I'm impressed and surprised by the non-famous people in famous people's lives who end up, they seem okay with this. I feel for them so deeply because I know how much therapy this takes. I know how much work this takes to put myself out there like that. None of you guys signed up for that. So I'm sorry that this is such a long roundabout answer. But what I wanted to say was my only regrets have ever been when I didn't honor my own boundaries with keeping my private life private. Every single time, if I just said a little bit too much about my ideals on, marriage or relationships, I'll talk about it. Don't get me wrong. I will talk about it. I'm talking about it now. But I think you should have boundaries. I think you should have things that you will talk about and you won't talk about. The only regrets I ever have is when I felt I didn't protect my private life well enough because I felt pressured in that moment to share more than I was ready to share.
Yeah. I know, I agree with that. We were saying on an earlier episode that whatever you share, people then feel entitled to continue to know about that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So whatever I put out there, I have to feel comfortable with people consistently and continually asking me about that.
Because you can't all take it away.
You can't.
You can't take it back.
And people feel now we have a right to know about this.
Yeah. And it started to become So in the very beginning, I called my husband Edward. When I was that transatlantic woman in the very beginning of my career. No. Okay. No one knew that wasn't his name. So people would start to be like, where's Edward? Where's Edward at? Show us Edward. People start commenting, I only followed her for Edward. Where's Edward? I'm like, okay. Yeah. Wow. Blocked.
First of all.
That was weird.
It was a weird thing to say to a show. They're like, where's Edward?
And so then it started to turn into, I've even had people comment really mad at me. Are you why don't you show your husband more? Are you ashamed? And getting mad. And I'm like, this emotion, the way you're reacting right now is exactly why I've made the right choice in picking and choosing when and how I share. You can see photos of my wedding. Again, I want to be really clear. It's not a secret. I love my husband. Like, it makes me emotional. Like, I love my husband. He like protects me in so many ways. And like, this is like the one way that I can protect him too. And so that's why I pick and choose what I'll share.
I love that. And I think what people don't understand too is, like, for example, if you were famous because you were an actress, you could focus on the craft and then ignore it. But when on social, it's so intertwined with your personal life.
Totally.
It's you showing up as you, which is a blessing, but it could also be a curse.
Yeah, I'm characters, but I also share my personal life. And therefore, now. So now I think I have a good relationship. When my husband appears in something, people go, oh, this is so fun. I love when there's a sighting of your husband. That's really nice. I'm like, I love it too, but it has to be on his terms.